Hey guys, GHZD here, back with another video. With Month of the Mad God and the Lost Tools right around the corner, I thought I'd make a video on a topic I don't think I've actually covered over before. That being the best and most efficient ways of collecting items for the Tinkerer. Here's the contents of the video because aside from being a guide, there's actually some useful information that can be applied to a lot of other scenarios as you play the game that you might find beneficial to know, so I'll leave it here so you can easily skip to areas of interest. Why though is this even relevant? Well, I'm glad you asked because as most of you know, the second reward for each day from the Tinkerer is a loot drop and tier increasing potion. Normally I wouldn't go through the effort of seeking out low tier gear each day for 2 lousy potions, but due to the events of Month of the Mad God including chest events essentially every single day, loot drop and tier increasing potions are a really effective way of boosting the maximum profit you'll gain from each of your dungeon runs, which will only be short-lived once the month ends, hence why I kind of wanted to get this video out now to help you guys stock up before everything goes completely ballistic. First, we'll quickly cover over how the Tinkerer works, what it was for, and what you can get. Essentially, the Tinkerer gives you a reward if you're able to obtain the item he wants as a type of daily quest payment, for a maximum of 3 quests a day, with each item that he wants increasing by 1 tier or rarity each time. The first tier includes tier 7 weapons and tier 7 armors. The next is tier 8 and then tier 9. As I already said, you can see that the second reward includes the loot potions and are basically the only thing people actually care about. But I guess the XP booster can be quite nice if you die a lot. The items the Tinkerer will require are as follows. Pretty standard stuff, nothing crazy expensive unless you're a newer player. But as we all know, as soon as you start searching for an item, it seems as though your luck is never on your side and you can never seem to find that one tier 7 item, however damn common it claims to be. That's where a few tricks I've picked up over my time playing will come in handy. First, knowing where the items actually drop from. It's pretty obvious and self-explanatory, and because we only care about the second quest reward, we only need to concern ourselves with the first 2 rarity tiers, so tier 7 and tier 8. What I used to do back in the day was just grind the Godlands for ages in hopes that I would find some items that I would want because gods do drop them, which if you're lucky can be quite effective. But restricting yourself to one set of enemies to obtain an item is usually a bad way to go about it, especially if more than one type of enemy can drop the same item. It would be like trying to obtain every single one of your WC tops from the first boss of a Shatters without taking into account the fact that RX2 also drops them, as well as the 2 other bosses in the Shatters. It's kind of silly, but you get the point. What you want to avoid is dungeon bosses, as you will spend most of your time trying to rush the dungeon itself, which in some cases can be more risky than you would probably like. So I would suggest sticking to realm enemies. It's a bit of a contradiction because you're again limiting your search range, but if efficiency is what you're aiming for, then this is the best way to go. A light bulb moment I had a while back was that empty realms were the perfect choice to farm for these items. You won't stumble across items on the Godlands floor like you used to that people would drop because every item when dropped is soulbound now, unfortunately, so this will slow the process down a bit, which means you're going to have to work for the items yourself either way, so you might as well pick a fresh realm because all the spawns will be intact and all of the pre-spawned quest enemies will have their chests stocked up. Now this leads me on to chest farming, specifically Cyclops God chests and Red Demon chests. What's useful about these ones is that we already know where they're going to be, and depending on how maxed you are or what class you're on, will change what chest you want to grind out more, as the Red Demon chests require you to actually run through the Godlands, if you're trying to do them fast anyway. But the Cyclops God chests are mostly located on the outskirts of the Godlands, which means it's relatively safe to farm for them if you're not as maxed, as you won't actually have to rush into the Godlands. What's also useful about these chests is that both types have the capacity to both generate tier 7 and tier 8 armors and weapons, so you're increasing the likelihood that you'll find these weapons and armors if you do more Cyclops gods and Red Demons. It's also really nice to farm some gods here and there on your way to the Red Demon chests because they also drop the items you're hunting for. So as I said, keep your options open and don't be too selective. Obviously, if you're planning on doing the daily quests consecutively each day, it's useful to stock up on tons of tier 7 and tier 8 weapons and armors, which you can just store on mule accounts for later. So at the end of the day, it'll start paying for itself, as initially it's more than likely going to feel pretty damn slow. You might not be getting the items that you want, but you will be getting items. And because the more you do, the more you stock up, and the more chances the Tinkerer will ask for an item that you already found previously searching for other tier 7 or tier 8 items. So this is obviously the most efficient way to go. If you don't want to waste all of your time farming for items you might not even use or find, then I'd recommend running Abyss of Demons, as the pot drops and high loot drop tables would be another option. If you're capable of rushing the Abyss, then this is a good substitute, as you'll get decent loot as well as chances at tier 7 and tier 9 items. But then again, tier 8 items are more beneficial to you because those are the ones that you'll be using to collect the loot potions at the end of the day. So it's up to you on whether or not you want to take this route. If you stick to only realm enemies, then doing skull shrines as well as Pentarax, Cube Gods, and Lord of the Lost Lands would be another option, as those drop the items you'll be looking for as well as a chance at those sexy event whites. Another profitable dungeon that you could also use as a substitute would be the Haunted Cemetery. All of the bosses drop tier 8 and tier 9 items, with the first two dropping tier 7 as well, so it's essentially the most ideal dungeon that you'd want to run for both high tier loot like old tops, as well as Tinkerer items at a high rate. I don't think I need to explain further that this is a pretty good dungeon to run. Now, if you are confused as to what I meant by we already know where the Cyclops gods are gonna be, it's because we already know the building spawn regions on every map in game, and they'll always be located in their specific spots. And if you don't know, every time a new realm is created, it will randomly select a map out of the 13 known map types. So the terrain itself isn't randomly generated, which means if you can figure out what map you're in, then you can know the location of everything. So places like the Godlands will be easy to find because that's actual terrain, so the shape won't change, and then things like the lava fissures will be in those exact spots, though their orientation can sometimes be different, which is where the red demon chests are. You'll know where the Cyclops gods are, which means you don't have to start clearing realms until the Cyclops gods are your current quest. So you can see the benefits here. Essentially, it will save you a ton of time. You can see here that I'm running around and all the castles are in the places they should be, and again they are randomly selected between different shapes and orientations, so they won't look the same but they'll be in the same spots. So because of this predictably random generation, you can hop into a realm, locate the world type and grind out Cyclops god chests to your heart's content with the most profit. And along the way you might come across other items. Now, the way a realm is generated means that the base template, which includes all of the biomes, trees and building spawn locations, means that aside from the lava fissures and Cyclops god castles, depending on how far away from the Godlands you are, these buildings won't be guaranteed to be what's shown on the map here. But there will be guaranteed building spawns that cycles through a few options depending on how far away from the Godlands you are, because you don't want a phoenix spawning in lowlands because it would be like noob suicide. So what this means is that you won't be able to farm for Phoenix chests or manas as effectively than you would be able to do with Cyclops gods, because they're not guaranteed to be there. You can still try because you'll know where the spawn regions are, so it'll be faster than mindlessly wandering around hoping to find a haunted graveyard or something. Now, this wouldn't be much of a tutorial if I didn't show you how to actually figure out what map you're in, so I'll quickly cover over how to do that the fastest way. Fame-trained scouters will use this method to find ideal world spawns that favour a higher god spawn rate because of the way spawns are set in specific godland types. So worlds 3, 10 and 12 are highly sought after as they have high god spawns and a godland shape that favours fame gain, if that makes sense. There are two different methods that are used. The beach method, where you'll look at the shape of the beach where you spawn and match it kind of like a puzzle piece to the maps on the wiki, or the Godlands method, where you have to find the Godlands and then look at the Godlands shape and match it to a realm. I don't think you have to be a genius here to figure out which is the better option here, but I thought I'd put it in anyway because some people are quite petty about what method to use. I like to use the beach method because it's much faster and it's pretty easy to locate on the map. First, what I would recommend is going on the wiki page for all of the world types and download all 13 of them and save them all to a folder. I've done some work for you and I've saved all of the world types into an Imgur album, and I've put the world number on the image themselves that I'll link in the description. It's just a bit more convenient for you guys, and I'll also link the specific wiki page where the original world images are found. Then all you gotta do is open up one of the worlds, shrink it so it's roughly the same scale as your map in game, This way you can essentially see your location in relation to the entire map if you've zoomed out all the way on your in-game minimap. I like to do this because I can quickly rule out maps, because some of them won't even have land where I'm standing. As you can see here, it can't be this world because I would be standing in water otherwise. Once you find a map that it could be, then you can zoom in and see if it matches. I like to walk along the beach for a few seconds so that I have a little bit more to work with, then I just repeat until I find it. It sounds like it would take a lot of effort, but it really isn't that bad. You're not actually trying to find a specific world, only identify which one you're currently in, so it saves a lot of time. Another nice way to rule out maps is by the biomes. As you can see here, you can see some sand. There's sand in the top left hand corner on this one, but not that one. I guess let's look at this one more. You kind of get a gauge on what's going on, okay? It's pretty self-explanatory. I don't think I need to talk about this one too much more. Download the maps, compare them to the shape of the beach. Bam, you know which realm it is, and you're good to go. Anyway guys, I'm pretty much going to wrap up the video there. I hope you enjoyed today's video. I hope you guys are ready for Month of the Mad God. I know I am, and I'm super keen for Lost Tools as well, so I'm going to be stocking up on these loot tier potions because I want some of that goddamn loot, man. But yeah, don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe for more, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.